Alright guys, DJ Guildmaster, Westmoreland Gamers Guild. Today's video, we're going to be talking about strike aircraft and them striking units. I'll do one on helicopters. I do a lot of helicopter work. So with this one, we're going to talk about strike aircraft, some of the rules with it, some tactics with it, stuff like that. So strike aircraft, they end up falling under different parts of the book when it comes to shooting, concealment, stuff like that. What we're going to go over is how salvos work with them, or like ranging in for artillery, and just some ideas for concealment, stuff like that. Things you want to keep in mind whenever you're shooting for aircraft. Alright guys, so we're going to go into one of the examples for aircraft. Probably one of the ones that people get they don't do it the most. Now, granted, I know these are A-10s, and their cluster munitions aren't the best. It's only a anti-tank 2, firepower 6, one shot. So how you fire artillery and salvo templates from aircraft, just like anything else, you'd measure, in this case, 6 inches from part of the hull, which would be the nose, and then you'd place your token. So this is your ranged in marker. Now aircraft, they have to range in themselves. They can't have FOs ranging in for them anymore. So once you do that, you throw down your salvo template, and again, just like regular artillery, have it pointing towards your aircraft unit. Now in this case, I'll catch everybody. However, I'm also touching terrain, which is going to factor into you ranging in. So you might want to maybe use this guy to put the marker down. So if I do bring the marker here, go ahead, put the template down. I'm still aiming at the unit themselves. I'm catching everyone and missing the terrain. Because just like artillery, whenever you range in, it'll be +1 for any terrain features, tall or short, as well as like any wrecks. Wrecks actually count as terrain. So in that case, I catch everybody. Now, that's just an example. In reality, I'm probably never going to use that that template for that. In this particular situation, I'd probably end up using the chain guns. They have an 8-inch range, just like normally you just measure the range. One thing you have to keep in mind, unlike similar and not similar to artillery, whenever strike aircraft or aircraft, like helicopters, target a unit, the target cannot be within 8 inches of friendlies. So that's like a chain gun, rockets, salvos, all of that. So you have to keep at least 8 inches away. A lot of people forget about that rule. That includes like the missiles and the chain guns. You know what I mean? Now, sometimes I might use the Maverick missiles on these because they have brutal. So if I do end up tagging one of these BIMPs, what ends up happening is if I knock out the BIMP, the guys inside making their saves, their infantry saves, have to re-roll it for brutal. So that's just an idea. So like, it's also really important which direction you're coming in at. If you're trying to mitigate a lot of anti-aircraft fire, you would come in maybe further out or a different angle. Especially considering your salvo template. Because like, if you're using Harriers or anything else, that template's pretty large. So it's going to be kind of hard to maneuver it coming in to you're not hitting terrain. And if you have a really good opponent, they're going to try to hug terrain as much as possible, knowing you have strike aircraft with salvos. So that way you're always hitting it. And you use the skill of the aircraft. In this case, A-10s are skill 4. Okay, let's go into another example here. Okay, so in this case, you're coming in for an attack run with your chain guns. They're range 8. You have to be cognizant of that because you might not be able to hit everybody in the enemy unit. So here, I can pretty much catch almost all of these guys. He's actually out. This guy over here, though, I'm only going to be able to mostly catch is 3 guys. So you might have to get a little bit closer with your aircraft to where you're able to catch everybody with your chain guns. I've seen that sometimes in some events. You put your aircraft further out and not realizing the range of your weapons, and then next thing you know, like 3 of these bimps might be out of range, like you can't hit them with your chain gun. Just stuff like that against tanks. So in this example here, this like in this tackle run, you're using, in this case, let's just say those are like T-80s or some heavier tank instead of BIMs. Like for your Maverick missile, the range would be minimum is 8, and it has like a 39-inch range. So the reason you'd probably sip as far as you can, because remember guys, you can pre-measure. So when you're putting your aircraft on the table, you can pre-measure out the 39 inches. So in this case, I have range to everybody out there. And the reason I would do this is a couple reasons. One, I'll be getting concealment further back, which kind of helps, maybe hurts. But also, the biggest reason, I'm trying to mitigate anti-aircraft fire. Because like if those are all regular tanks, each one has maybe 1 or even 2 anti-aircraft light machine guns on board. So in that case, there's like 12 possible shots to take down my aircraft. Now granted, against strike aircraft with undedicated AA, you have to re-roll successes. But I've had aircraft shot down more often than not from regular 50 calibers. Also, a lot of your, I believe your Gepards are maybe, I know your Vals and your Shulkas, that 39 inches, get you outside of their threat bubble for them firing at you before you get to fire your load off. So that's also a plus. Now granted, you're shooting at, when you shoot aircraft with your guns and rockets, whatever hull zone facing, that's the armor you're going to be going up against. It's not top armor like it would be with your salvo template over here. So now granted, the Maverick's like anti-tank 27, so nothing can stop it. But just be aware of that, because like especially with your chain guns and your other shooting guns, like a lot of aircraft have like a machine gun. Just be aware of that, because it might, or depending on what it is, you're not going to hurt it. If it's a heavier battle tank, like even the anti-tank 10 or 11 of these is really pushing it. I don't feel comfortable shooting at anything at least 7. So if it's armor 7, I'll shoot at it because they need a 4 to equal 5 to stop. But anything higher than a 7, I'd rather not just shoot at it. I'd just rather use its main missiles, which in some cases is the correct thing against a battle tank. But yeah, so always remember, as you're placing your aircraft down for a strike run, measure the distance. So that way you can, like, it sucks if I've done it before, I put my aircraft further out, like back here or something, and next thing you know, when you range in with your Mavericks, you're out of range. So you have to fire something else. So that's something else just to be cognizant of.